This video is scripted and edited and written by Nehor Dash. This video is scripted and edited and written by Nehor Dash. 14 different types of plywood. What is plywood and their types? 14 best types of plywood for furniture, written by Nehor Dash, for public domain purpose only. What is plywood? Plywood is engineering wood that is made up of gluing several layers of wood together. Also, there are different types of plywood used for furniture like cabinets, cupboards, TV units, dressing tables, center tables, and dining tables. It is used in construction projects such as bracing, panels, and making decorative items, which require a piece of wood, large plywood. And plywood is a composite product of wood. The plywood is produced with the help of placing a very thin layer of wood and glued under a pressure and giving a hydraulic press for creating a single sheet of wood, mostly preferred over a 2x4 size log. Because these logs have an extremely stable surface and do not expand easily when moisture across the grains. Hardwood plywood is applicable for only furniture purposes, and softwood plywood is applicable for construction purposes and structural purposes. In inwood industries, many types of plywood are available, but the common thickness of plywood is dependent upon the number of piles it has. Mostly in plywood has 3 ply, and the sturdier ones come in multiply or 5 ply. So here is our list, which written by Nehor Dash, for public domain purpose only. 1. Softwood plywood. 1. Softwood plywood. 1. Softwood plywood. As the name suggests, this plywood is made up of softwood such as cedar, redwood, pinewood, spruce, Douglas fir, and it is used for heavy works. The softwoods are used for subfloors of building, frame sheathing of exterior side, roof sheathing, dog house, and shelves, packages, parking fencing or garden fencing, and boxes. 2. Hardwood plywood. 2. Hardwood plywood. 2. Hardwood plywood. These types of plywood are made up of hardwood such as oak, maple, birchwood, walnut, etc. Generally this hard plywood is made up of 7 or more layers, which is make them extremely sturdy. Also, hardwood plywood is used for musical instruments, sports equipment, furniture, frame, playground equipment, supporting structural elements, making signboards, and many more. 3. Aircraft plywood. 3. Aircraft plywood. 3. Aircraft plywood. Aircraft plywood. Aircraft plywood is high-grade plywood and it is more durable. This plywood is applicable for aircraft fields, making boats, and furniture. The aircraft plywood is made of thinner veneers so that it is more workable and lightweight, and uses wood such as birch and mahogany. Also it resists moisture and heat. For exterior plywood. For exterior plywood. For exterior plywood. Exterior plywood is used for exterior works. It is manufactured using weather-resistant adhesive and glued water. When plywood quality is good, then it stays many years. The exterior types of plywood is categorized in multiply. 5. Lumber core plywood. 5. Lumber core plywood. 5. Lumber core plywood. A lumber core plywoods are generally made up of 3 plies, and the inner core is made up of glued wood into one solid slab, and the outer veneer is made up of hardwoods. When poorly make a lumber core plywood, high chance to get voids within the core part, which reduced its strength and the ability of screw holding. 6. Structural plywood. 6. Structural plywood. 6. Structural plywood. Structural plywood needs a strong adhesive to keep piles together, and it is also known as sheathing plywood. Structural plywood is used for outside or inside of a building, but the main disadvantage is vulnerable to weather resistance, and the advantage is structural plywoods are cheap as compared to other plywood. Also, this plywood is greatly suitable for the subfloor, internal structures, bracing of the roof, wall bracing, and beams. 7. Composite plywood. 7. Composite plywood. 7. Composite plywood. Composite plywood is similar to traditional plywood, but composite plywood consists of external layers that include fiberboard and cover with a layer of hardwood, and the internal layer consists of regular wood. The composite types of plywood is mostly suitable for making cabinets and furniture. 8. Overlaid plywood. 8. Overlaid plywood. 8. Overlaid plywood. Overlaid plywood is made up of ash, birch, maple, red oak, rosewood, oak, mahogany, teak, and the upper layer is finished with ornamental wood and also called decorative plywood. The overlaid veneer plywood not only gives a finished look, but it makes durable, water resistance, scratch-proof and protects against other damage. Generally, this outer surface is bonded with a process of heat and pressure. 9. Marine plywood. 9. Marine plywood. 9. Marine plywood. Marine plywood performs well in humid areas and wet regions and easily resists mold, fungal, mildew attacks. The marine plywood is mostly used in that place where it is exposed to moisture for a long time, and it is varnished with water-resistance glue which helps to water repel. Marine plywood does not have any knot holes inside the piles. Also, it is used for making a decorative purpose as well as a marine field such as a dock component, boat, bench, and planters. 10. Tropical plywood. 10. Tropical plywood. 10. Tropical plywood. Tropical plywood is manufactured in mixed tropical wood logs. Tropical plywood is superior as compared to softwood plywood, means strength, uniformity in a layer, density. This tropical plywood is commonly used in countries such as Japan, Taiwan, Dubai, Korea, the US, the UK, etc. The tropical types of plywood is used for making a concrete panel, laminated board, structural panel, floor base, container flooring, etc. 11. Flexible plywood. 11. Flexible plywood. 11. Flexible plywood. Flexible plywood, as the name suggests, is flexible in nature so that it is used for making a curved part of the furniture and designing purposes, and generally this plywood comes in at 1/8 inch or 3/8 inch thickness of 1/2 inch. It is also known as bending plywood. Once a desirable curve is achieved, then boards are glued in 2 layers so that the shape is stiff or rigid and does not allow any movement. 12. Sanded plywood. 12. Sanded plywood. 12. Sanded plywood. In this plywood, the top, bottom, and face of piles are sanded, which makes them smooth and uniform in nature. Also, the sanded plywood has a high finish quality and is durable, so it is used for structural application. 13. Apple plywood. 13. Apple plywood. 13. Apple plywood. Apply plywood is sturdy and light in weight so that more workable and used for making furniture, cabinets, and decorative piece. The construction of ply used strips of alder wood and birch wood, which are laminated together. 14. Subfloor plywood. 14. Subfloor plywood. 14. Subfloor plywood. Subfloor is an important portion of the construction building or any structure because their floor finish will be attached. Subfloor plywood, as the name suggests, is used instead of a concrete floor.